right, the next one is, and welcome to science, of course. The next one is an even bigger, fancier name, original horizontality. Horizontality. Anything like that? I like it. Original horizontality. All right. The idea here is that um, layers tend to be deposited in horizontal, I want to say flat layers. Okay. When sediment, now we've done, it was a ways back, right? But we did deposition, we did weathering, erosion, and deposition. And we talked about where rivers like run out into oceans and the sediment settles. That tends to happen in flat layers. It doesn't tend to happen on slopes. You can get like layer upon layer upon layer on top of each other in a slope very easily. Again, get into the nitty gritty of geology and you're going to figure out where these rules get a little flexible, but on a basic level, we're going to say that when sediments get deposited, or if there's like flood basalts, which would be volcanoes that let out a very runny magma that can like spread over large areas, um, that tends to happen in flat layers, like gravity, right? It's a gravity thing. And this is observable and pretty easy to understand. So, original horizontality states that if you see flat layers, great, that's how they were probably laid down. But if you don't, if you see something else, something happened. So, what we're going to do, and again, let's look at where we're going with this. When we get to doing these, we're going to say, like, okay, the oldest layer on this diagram is D, and then J. And we'll like label them with letters, and that's it. Unless you want to write out the deposition of layer D every time. I'll just say D is good, right? Um, so what we'll have to do, though, occasionally when we see that, hey, these layers are not flat, is we're going to have to stick in a word. And the two we're going to use chiefly are when you see it kind of have this big bend in it, like this big arc, that's called folding. A tectonic thing that happens. So these layers would have been laid down and then folding took place. Up here, they're at an angle. I don't see any like bend in it. They just look like they're up at an angle. We're going to call that tilting. Might that be part of a large fold? Sure. Maybe if you were looking at this on a very small scale, would it look like a tilt? Sure. But again, don't overcomplicate it. Just try to roll with that, and that's going to be it for original horizontality. Basically, if it's not flat, something happened. Okay. So when we get to doing these, those ones are not flat, so they're going to be laid down. Then we got to account for something happening. Okay. Deal. Excellent. 2 down. Let's keep it up.